Today I'm starting a new type of video, guys, and I want your feedback on if you like this or not. I want to take you on a journey of building a map from the very start to the very end. Throughout this, I'll give you tips on how to build maps yourselves, how to use mechanics, how to place certain pieces, how to come up with ideas, that kind of thing. I want your feedback on the video. Is it too boring or is this very helpful for you? Like, let me know. I want to know what you guys think. So here's the idea for the map I want to build right now. I'm calling it the Infinite Dropper. Basically, it's a dropper that you have to fall through all of the levels and you only get one shot. There are no checkpoints. It's just one giant level where when you fall to the bottom of it warps you to the top of the next level and there's no breaks. You just have to fall till you beat the map. It's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be unique, and I haven't seen anyone else do anything like this. Right, let's jump into building this dropper. Okay, so whenever I'm doing a dropper, I wanna like determine the height of where we need to be. So with this infinite dropper, the design-wise, I don't need to worry so much about placement. So we're just gonna measure out how tall like max height is. Okay, so here's max height. That's how long our dropper can really be right there. Now I need to decide how I want my first level to look. So what I've decided for level 1, it's gonna be really simple. It's just gonna be a cave that you fall down and you go into the middle. Now, I think with this map, what I'm gonna have the player have to do is collect 100 coins, and then each level, they're gonna loop through each level a couple of times so they can collect multiple coins until they get to 100, and then at 100 coins, they'll get warped to the final level where then they can fall and finish the map. Okay, so one tip when you're working with terrain pieces is to make sure your grid snap is 8 or less. I chose 8 on this so that I can just be a little bit more precise, but then what you do is you just copy and then just kind of move down. So I'm just going down so that it's all lined up, and then I'm just copying and pasting as I go down. So this makes a full cave, you know, it makes it feel like you're dropping down this big cave kind of thing. Okay, so this is what it looks like now that I've just copied those. I didn't want to make this like too complicated of a level, just because I don't have time to like really make it look super pretty, but it gets the effect right of this giant cavern that you're jumping down and trying to collect coins on, and I feel like that's good enough. At the bottom, I have these terrain pieces that kind of slope in, and then I have these little like crumbling walls for the bottom, and I put a little dark piece at the bottom as well, so that with the mist it still looks dark underneath. Because when you're falling into this, what I'm gonna have them do is hit a trigger that's gonna warp them to the top of another dropper level. So let's place our mechanic next. So I'm gonna go to my devices right here and grab a trigger, hit equip, and then we're gonna throw this out on the ground. I'm gonna grab this trigger and place it over here, but what I'm gonna do before I place it is I'm going to enlarge it so that it's pretty much as big as it can be. Basically, I want it so if anyone hits this hole, they're gonna trigger this. So actually, probably what I'm gonna do is do 2 or 3 triggers all in this one area. But before I do that, I wanna set this trigger up properly. So I'm gonna go into the trigger settings, and then we're gonna make sure people can't see this trigger, so visibility will be off. We don't want trigger sounds or video effects. We're gonna make sure it's enabled on the mini game start, which is the default, and then we're just gonna transmit on channel 1 when this is triggered. Okay, so now what I wanna do is place this properly. So basically I want it to trigger as soon as they hit this mist. So I'm gonna place it right underneath the mist, and I'm gonna do probably 4 of these just to make sure there's no like space that is not a trigger. Okay, so there we go, that's our trigger space. Let's start on the basics of our second level. So for my second level, I think I'm gonna use the Haunted Hills gallery here, just as a, like, you're progressing through this level. Okay, so this is the top of my dropper, and I don't think anyone's actually gonna look up when they warp in, but just in case they do, I wanted a little area where it looks like this is where you were falling through. Okay, one thing I also wanna do is place a barrier up here, and then go in and make the barrier style black, so that when people look up, they're just gonna see black instead of, you know, I don't know, the normal creative top. So you can see here, when they're down here, they look up, they see darkness. Okay, one thing I'm also gonna do is place my mist up here, and I have to flip my mist around, just so that it actually is like, people can see it from looking down up. Because if you look at the bottom of the mist, it's invisible. Okay, so I think that looks pretty cool. when you're looking up. But once again, I doubt anyone is actually going to look up, but it's these kind of details when you're making a map that makes a map from good to amazing. All right, now let's just fill in the gaps here on these walls. I just like to fall and hold down my build button until you get to the bottom. And then another thing I like to do when I'm building droppers is to just copy the whole column, and then we can just place them along the way as we go along here. So we're gonna copy this, and then we're gonna move it along there and copy right there. And sometimes there's like major lag when you're copying this many pieces, but it helps to just speed it up when you're trying to build a dropper to, you know, just copy and paste. All right, we've got all our walls placed, and I'm gonna make this more pretty, I think I wanna put like some windows and doorways and like bridges going across that people have to avoid. This is like the basics of the dropper, but I want to place my mechanic first to make sure it's gonna work. Okay, so I'm gonna go into my devices, and I'm gonna grab the teleporter, and then we're gonna throw this down so that we can grab it. Okay, so we've got our teleporter, and we're gonna place it at the very top of our dropper. Okay, so we've placed it at the top of the dropper here. Now we need to go into the settings and make sure this is set up properly. Okay, so this is gonna be our first teleporter, so I think it's okay to be on group A, and we don't have to change the target group at all. We're gonna turn off visual and sound effects just so it doesn't like change the flow of the levels. Now here's where we have to make a decision. Do we want to conserve momentum or not? If we turn off momentum, then people will stop at the top and have a chance to look down. So that might be attractive for us in this map. Or we might wanna leave it on so that it just has that continuous feel. I think I wanna try it with it on first before we turn it off. And then our most important setting here is to teleport to when receiving from channel 1 from our first level. Okay, let's just test this out and make sure it works. Okay, so for testing, we're gonna go and place a player spawn right here at the top. So one thing to note with player spawns and checkpoints is you'll see this little space right here. That is the direction your back is faced to. So when you spawn in, you want this where your back is. Just a little thing for map makers. I hate when you spawn in and you're like looking at a wall or in the wrong direction. All right, let's go ahead and start the game. Okay, so we're at the top here and we're looking down on our dropper. We can't, honestly, this is actually kind of hard because you can't really see the bottom from the edge of the lip without like falling in. All right, let's jump down. Here we go. We're going through our misty bottom and we're already falling. Oh, gee, that worked really well, actually. And I think I actually want to keep the momentum on just because I feel like that makes it feel more real. I'm starting to get pretty excited about this map. That just felt so good falling. Now we gotta like spruce up this level a little bit and make sure it's more difficult than just falling straight down. So one thing I want to be mindful of in this level is that people will have to have a second to look back down so that they know where they're falling. So I don't want to start obstacles too soon in the drop. Okay, so I think this height right here is probably a good enough place to have a simple obstacle, and then maybe we have another one just a little ways down, like maybe like this height right here. One thing I want to do with this level is maybe have 2 spaces that they could fall through that they have to choose to go through for the next level. So let's set that up right now. Okay, so I've put the 2 holes in the wall and a black floor so that people don't see the bottom. And then probably I want to put some black walls here instead of having stone walls so that it doesn't take away from immersion, just in case someone might accidentally see into the side. Okay, I've also placed the mist in the holes so that it has that continuity throughout the map. I'm always gonna have like the mist be where the next level starts. Okay, so I've placed 2 bridges that you have to avoid. This one has like the lights on it, and I think it looks kind of cool. Now, one thing of note, this doorway looks very different than that wall, but I feel like on a dropper, people aren't gonna notice too much. And then I didn't want to add too much to this bridge. I did have like a different entrance, so as people are falling by, they might look over. You never know what people are gonna do, but I didn't want to add too much to this just because I like it a little bit darker, so that makes it a little bit more challenging. The only other thing I think I want to do with this level is add some windows just to add a little extra layer of texture. Okay, so I've added some windows and some lamps along the walls so that it adds a little bit more of an obstacle, but also more of just texture and layering to make it more immersive and cool as you're falling down. One thing I'll also want to do is put up some barriers along the outside of the walls so that if someone's looking through the window, they're not seeing out of it. Okay, so I added the black barriers and it actually closed off this area, but actually I think it looks better having that cave-like look for that spot. One thing I also had a thought of while I was building this is that it might be better if this was low gravity, so it gives the player more movement, especially on a map that's continuously falling and you don't really have a break. I think it's better if the player has a little bit more movement to go back and forward. Okay, let's set up our triggers now for this level. What we're gonna do is we're gonna throw out our trigger, and then we're gonna go into the settings and get this all set up properly. So remember, we want to turn off sound and visual effects, and we also want the visibility to be off, and then this will transmit on trigger 2 or on channel 2 rather, so that it doesn't interfere with the level 1 channel. So now we're gonna place our triggers. We're gonna make sure they're nice and big, and then we're going to place them just underneath this hole. Okay, we've got all of this hole placed, and now we're gonna start placing this hole. I've already put one down, but this one we wanna actually transmit on channel 3, so that on the next level, if they go through this hole, it starts above this area, and if they go through that hole, it starts in a different area. All right, I think that all looks good. I think the final thing I wanna do is just place a teleporter out at the top over here, so that we can just make sure it works as we're going through all 3 levels. Okay, so I've set up 2 teleporters here. This one comes from channel 2, and this one is channel 3 if you follow through channel 3. All right, let's just see if this works. And we're gonna go through the hole right here, and we're still dropping. Oh my gosh, that is actually kind of hard to like react that fast. And we'll go through third one. There we go, it works. Dude, this is gonna be so cool. So we've got 2 levels set up. Now we just need to make a few more levels and then set up all of the coin mechanic to where when you get 100 coins, it takes you to the final level, and then you finish the map. So I'm not sure how many more videos that'll take, at least one more. If you liked this video, please let me know in the comments below. If you did not like this video, let me know in the comments below as well. That's it for me today, guys. If you're looking for more tips on building in creative mode, click the link right here. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and turn on notifications. We do fun things in creative mode every day on the channel. All right, guys, that's it. I hope you have an awesome day.